we believe in the kind of the immediate guide of the Holy Spirit, and I wonder
Mm.
what spirit empowered apologetics could look like. Talk to me about that, because I
Sure.
wonder whether there's
Yeah.
something as Pentecostals. How could we become? How could we do apologetics in that kind of spirit empowered way? Do you think?
Mm. Often when I think of spirit empowered, I think of both speech and action. So let me start with speech, and maybe we'll come to the action side later. I mean, I think if we think about the Spirit biblically, I mean, the Holy Spirit is the primary apologist. Jesus says in John 15:26 that when the Helper, the Spirit of truth, comes, he will bear witness about Jesus. And then Jesus says, and you will also bear witness about me, referring to the disciples. So the Spirit is the primary witness, and we as followers of Christ are the secondary witnesses. I think in light of this, I think we really need to be sensitive to the Spirit's guidance in all situations. Um, in practice, what does that mean for me? Well, I try to combine the practice of apologetics with a life of prayer, and not just prayer for others, but prayer in the sense of hearing and being in tune with God. Could I be better at that? For sure, but I think that is really important. However, I don't think this is an excuse to not to do our homework when it comes to apologetics. I think in the Pentecostal tradition, we have sometimes assumed that because the Spirit gives us directly words in a situation, we don't need to be prepared. But of course, Peter is encouraging us in 1 Peter 3:15 to be prepared, to be ready to give a reply. And I think in my own experience, and actually when I read the scriptures, it seems to me that the Spirit often gives us insights and illumination that has nothing to do with us, but perhaps more often than that, I find that the Spirit actually reminds me of things that I've heard, studied, and reflected upon. It is like our lives are storehouses from which the Spirit of God can bring appropriate things at the right moments. And I think this is also what divine and human partnership looks like. It also means, I think, in practice, that if there's less in the storehouse, for example, if my life is not saturated with the word of Christ, perhaps there's less that the Spirit can bring to my remembrance in those moments. And I think, again, if you look at, even the Gospel of John 14:16, where it talks about the Spirit bearing witness and reminding us, there is that phrase that the Spirit brings to our remembrance the things that Christ has said, which suggests that actually, if we've not listened to what Christ has been saying, if we've not carefully thought about what Christ has said and done, then maybe there's an element that there's less stuff from the storehouse from which the Spirit can draw from.